What is up, MMA True Believers? I am Jason Burgos, and for this edition of Back Talk, I am joined by who I feel is the James Bond of the UFC. 00205, if you will. He is a former Cage Warriors champion who returns to the octagon on Saturday at UFC 260 to face off with Mihail Oleshaychuk. I dare you all to say that 3 times fast. And that man I speak of is the Baltic Gladiator, a.k.a. Modestas Bukauskas. Mr. Bond, sir. Thank you so much for the time during fight week. This is a busy week for you right now.
Yeah, 00205. I like that. But I would have never thought of that. I can imagine it's only you that can come up with something that clever. That was good. But yeah, man, doing real good. How you doing, sir?
Fantastic. Always enjoy talking to you. Have so many questions to talk to you about. So first, wanted to quickly go back to the last fight with Jimmy Crute. That was your first loss in over 2 years, 8 fights. Also, when we talked in October, you were very complimentary of him, calling him a step up in competition and a fight others were avoiding. So, like, what was like kind of the mental bounce back like after that fight? Was it tough because, you know, first loss to UFC, it was a chance to move up in competition, didn't work out how you wanted? Did you feel oh, I just made a technical mistake I shouldn't have made, and you were like wanted to get right back in the gym, get rebooked right away? What was the reaction to this loss for the first time in a while?
Yeah, so at first it was quite painful because I knew that was a fight that I could have won, and always when if I would have just literally got my ass handed to me for 3 rounds, just wiped the floor with me, then I would have been like, okay, fair play. I just got a hell of a lot to work on. I just got to really step up my game. But when you know you have the skill set, you know you have the ability, and you weren't able to like just really pull it off and show everything, and you got caught with a really good punch, that was the most upsetting thing, you know. I would have rather if it actually went. I would have found it a lot easier to take, having lost, going 3 rounds and lost, knowing that I had to just improve on a lot of things. But at the same time, looking back at it, I'm very thankful for that loss. I mean, Jimmy Crute is an amazing fighter, and look at him now. You know, he's shooting upwards, and like I say, best of luck to him and stuff like that. So it was great to be in there with such a high level competitor. And like you said, I mean, no one wanted to fight him, and I took that fight. I had to take a risk. In life, you got to take risks, and I took a risk. It didn't pay off this time, but trust me, next time I take a risk, it's definitely going to pay off. So I learned a hell of a lot of things from that fight. I was very confident going into that fight, and like I say, I'll be confident. I'm still confident even now. I'll be able to take on the top 15. I've just made a couple of much needed adjustments. It's like, had I won that fight and moved on, I probably wouldn't have been ready to fight those guys, knowing what I know now. Do you know what I mean? So I'm actually very thankful for that. So once I realized that and you know, it sort of came into my mind and everything, yeah, I was pretty much just ready to fight as soon as possible again, and just work on everything that I needed to.
And it's interesting that you pose it as you'd rather have been, dominated over 3 rounds and lose this way, because I would feel, and again, not a fighter, not understanding of what you guys go through and the mentality, the confidence, that it would be better to lose like this because, oh, he got me, frustrating, a waste of a camp. But because if you had to go back and work on a lot of things, it would make me worried. Like, am I able to be at this level like I need to be? This guy showed maybe I got a lot of work, and I'm like, it's interesting that you say that like there wouldn't be a fear if they dominated you, like, oh man, maybe I'm not up to the level. At least this way you can say, hey, he caught me, I know I'm at the level, he caught me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in a way, like, obviously in your mind, because as a competitor, you're always looking just on the winning way. You're right. Obviously not even thinking about losing, and especially when, like I say, I know I have the skill set, I know I have the ability. So when you underperform and you get caught by a punch and you don't, you're not able again to show everything that you're capable of. That's been like the main mantra of like my last couple of interviews and stuff like that, is I've not really been unlocking my full potential in the cage. So that was upsetting because that was the time that I wanted to do that. So I think that's why it was like sort of that upsetting. It's like, but then knowing that you have to work on a load of things, it's like, okay, I'm gonna take a couple months out and then rebook another fight. And I think at the time it would have had like sort of different effects mentally. So for me, it was more heartbreaking because obviously you're just completely thinking of going off on the street, going in the top 15 and doing your thing and, rising to stardom. But at the same time, saying that now, like I've mentioned earlier, I'm very glad it happened, because now when I go and fight these guys in the top 15 and go and fight, these future opponents, I'm going to go in there to dominate them and do it properly and actually fight to my full potential.
Is there any like a later sting, because he gets the win over you, and then he gets Anthony Smith? Like, I know you get over the loss and you're like, oh, whatever. Do you always stay over the loss, or when you see that on like one of these sites, oh, Jimmy Crute, next up Anthony Smith, like, damn, if I would have won, I would have got Anthony Smith. Shit. Is there anything like that? You're kind of like, that's the past. I don't care.
Do you know what? 100%. Obviously, you're thinking, oh, mate, that could have been me. Do you know what I mean? It could have been my name up in lights for all of that. But at the same time, I respect Jimmy Crute. He's a great fighter, and he deserves that opportunity. At the end of the day, I hold no ill will towards the man. He did the job, and now he's moving up. But another thing that really motivates me is to go and stake my claim to go and get that rematch. You know what I mean? Okay. Now I've got my chance to get a couple of wins under my belt. Like I say, Jimmy Crute will be moving up the rankings himself, having his big fights, and then later on down the line, it will make for an incredible rematch, an incredible story for both of us. So at the end of the day, he's going on his path and doing his thing. I'm going on my path and doing my thing. But I swear, somewhere down the line, within the future, whatever, there will be a rematch at some point. Because, like I say, both of us young, both of us extremely competitive. So it's almost inevitable that something like that would happen.
Now, going back to kind of something we were just talking about before the recording, and that, despite growing up in England, living in England, you do have experience in trips to the U.S. Like you were telling me before, you have your past here, going to school, playing basketball and stuff like that. But that said, your first two fights in the UFC have been on Fight Island. This is still the first one, like a business trip, coming to the mecca of MMA competition, Vegas, and everything like that. Does it almost feel like a second debut in a way? You're coming as a UFC fighter to Vegas to be in a UFC fight, to be in the octagon. Does it change things? It's a different kind of like jet lag on a fight week with weight cuts than you've had to deal with before. Does it add an extra obstacle on some level? Does it add extra excitement? Or am I just completely overthinking this?
Do you know what? I mean, I guess some fighters get affected by it, but for me, it just brings even more excitement and joy. I mean, every fighter or anyone, ask anyone what, like, if they want to do something to achieve anything, like going to Vegas is like one. If you're competing or performing in Vegas, you're doing big things. Do you know what I mean? You have somewhat succeeded in life. So as a massive goal of mine, like, it's always been a lifetime thing to be competing in these. Obviously, it's been a lifetime goal to be competing in massive crowds, which obviously is clearly starting to open up. But what the main thing for fighters, they want to fight at the Mecca, they want to fight in Las Vegas. Now, obviously, we're talking more about obviously the MGM Grand, but just the fact that we get to go to American soil in Las Vegas at the Apex in these crazy times, it's just literally. These are like life-changing and storytelling moments. It's like, during this pandemic, then the UFC has their own facility. So me being actually able to fight on US soil and, going through the process of getting your visa and stuff like that, these are all things that I was wanting to happen anyway. So like you said, like you just mentioned, I think it is almost like another debut. It gives me another chance. It gives me a chance to show the newly formed self that I've been creating over these last couple of months on new ground, new territory. And there's going to be a whole hell of a new fighter going out there on March 27th.
When your manager comes to you with this fight, how familiar were you with Mihail? I mean, especially because he's been off for a year, he had lost 2 in a row. Like, when that name comes to you, were you like, oh yeah, that's a good fight? Or did you have to do, which is common, you little research? Who is this guy they give me?
Yeah, I knew that somewhere down the line I would have to fight him. I mean, as a competitor, you're looking at who's in your division, who's in the UFC, who's fought who, what's going on, like what's the landscape in the division that you're fighting, because you sort of want to create a little bit of a roadmap for yourself, like, okay, these are potential matchups and blah blah blah. So when his name came up, I already knew who he was. Not that I'd sort of paid too much close attention to his fights, but I knew of him.
Mhm.
And also he's fought one of my training partners like quite a long time ago. He's actually
Okay.
fought one of my opponents that I fought. So we've been around the same sort of circuit. He's fought two of the same opponents that I've had. Funny enough,
All right.
he fought Wojciech and Nasilia, and I fought both of them as well. So
And for Jimmy Crute too.
and Jimmy Crute,
Yep.
sorry, as well there. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So exactly. So we've got quite a history in the sense of that we fought the same people. So yeah, so it's almost like a logical thing that we'd end up fighting each other. I've always knew that he's a tough competitor, but I've always had it in my mind. As soon as he gave me that name, I'm like, this is the fight that we're going to go in there and prove ourselves and do my thing.
Going back to the point of him being away for a year, one of the many things I've learned from talking to fighters over the years and stuff like that is the time between fight bookings is where growth happens. You can get to focus on your skills, the things you have to work on, than say an opponent's skills and strategy and stuff like that. And he got to do a lot of that since February of last year. Do you have to kind of go in there with a little caution in that first round to watch out for a possible evolution, some wrinkles, so you're not caught off guard that he may have added? Test the waters, if to see if that scouting report that you know of him actually is still the same, and then off of that, make an assessment. Okay, this is where I'm going for it. Do you have to do that in case he has gotten better in that year?
There ain't no testing waters in this fight. I'm going out there all guns blazing. This is what I mean. I like. It's almost like I was sort of testing the waters, if you will, in my last two UFC fights. I wasn't really showing my full self and not really fully expressing myself.
Right.
As Bruce Lee would always say, it's like expressing yourself honestly, and I don't think I've been doing that. To the greatest extent. So as much as I know, 100%, you've got to take those things into account. You've got to take into account the fact that he's definitely probably improved in some of those areas where he's been able to have time to himself. From what I heard, he had a bit of time off and then started training again. So yeah, of course, he could have definitely improved. I mean, it's the same with me. I made massive improvements, and then people thought one thing of me, and next thing I come out and show something completely, or I showed a much improved level of the game. So yes, I do expect that, but at the same time, I believe my skill set in all areas is better than whatever he can possibly do to improve himself, and I truly and firmly believe that. The way that I've improved has been massive. Yeah, I know he can improve massive, but it ain't going to be better than my skill set. So I'm going out there with full force, with all the tools at the helm, and I'm just going to go in there to put it on my opponent. So it ain't going to be no feeling out process. I've got to go out there and do the business on this guy.
And I'm glad you brought up, I'm talking about, your full skill set against his, because that's kind of a little bit where I was going next, because if there seemed to be one kind of clear weakness for him, it would be maybe his ground game. 3 of his 4 losses are by submission. Now, you have made your name and become a Cage Warriors champion off of your talents as a striker, your movement, which is uncommon for the division. But with what seems like a strong avenue to victory, is it strategically sensible to showcase your well-rounded skills and your ground game and take him to the mat? Or am I simplifying things as a non-fighter? And if your strength is striking, you can't go away from that, even if that means playing to his strengths a little bit? Or is it somewhere in the middle of both?
No, I can definitely appreciate the mindset there, and people have often asked me, like, what would your sort of game plan be and stuff like that. And to be fair, in a fight, you've got to adapt and overcome. So anything that comes into the fight, he's going to have his tendencies. He's going to have things that no matter what he does, it's going to be second nature to him. Like, unless he's drilled it like literally a million times, there are going to be things that he's just going to do over and over again. That no matter what you do, you can't really change over the course of a couple of fights. You have to take like a long thing to actually like flip the switch completely and do certain things. So I know he's going to have his tendencies, so I'll be watching out for those, but I also take into account the thought of an added skill set as well. But where I feel that I'm actually stronger in all areas, same like he does, but I know 100% that I'm better in every single skill set, I will take what is given to me. If the takedown is there, I will take it. That will give me a chance to show off my other parts of my game that people have not seen yet. But at the same time, if you're beating a guy in stand-up, why take him down? So this is the thing. I'll take whatever is given to me. I've got a clear picture in my head of what I want to do, and in the fight, we'll just see where it goes. But I know in every area I will be dominant.
Now that's interesting how you put it, like feeling everywhere, every skill set is better. Cause going back to say like with Jimmy Crute, very complimentary of him and stuff like that. Is it not just necessarily the confidence of a fighter, of a professional athlete that you need to feel the best? You look at him, watch him, and go, "Yep, I'm better at him than him in doing that. I'm better at him in doing that." Is it as simple as that? Like, "Yep, better than everywhere than him. I'm just straight up better than him."
Well, you have to honestly evaluate yourself, and this is the thing. Even before the Jimmy Crute fight, I'm honestly evaluating myself, evaluating my opponent's skill set, and like I said, I still even then believed, and I still believe there that that I've got areas where I am better, and with this fight, it's the same thing. You're kind of looking at the overall skill set, and it's like, and even knowing that everything is better, there's certain things that I've improved that I've not necessarily been strictly in the training room. It's been outside of the fighting. Like, one thing that Jimmy Crute done really well with his whole team is that they had a strategy. Again, they're talking about tendencies, and they saw those and managed to exploit that. That's one thing that I wouldn't necessarily say was a bigger, like, like certain things, but you're not really like thinking of a proper game plan. That was one thing that with the coaches all sat down, we had a strategy, and then it's up to you in the fight, like I said, to then adapt to whatever comes throw your way. But then at least you know what certain things to look out for. So that was one thing. And then number two, I think mentally I needed to be in a different place. Like there was this sort of fire and aggressiveness that I've been talking about. It's like I was talking about it, but I don't actually think I was actually fully unleashing it, if you know what I'm saying. Like it was almost like it was in the back burner. So when it came to the Crute fight, maybe if I got into the second round, like I would have had that fire again. But it's like, why the hell am I waiting into the second round? I need to do it straight away. So because everyone gets nerves and stuff like that. Like I'm very familiar with all those feelings, so that's not the issue. But it's just bringing out a side of me that not many people really get to see. And because outside the cage, I'm a bit of a goofball and stuff like that. But obviously when it gets to business, I've got to do my thing. So I've obviously enlisted the help of a sports psychologist, and it really does help. I mean, and I would tell other fighters to do the same. And it's not necessarily because there's like a massive problem, but it's just you got to unlock things. You got to it's about unlocking your full potential. And I feel that the things that I've added and the things that I've done now is going to help me to unlock my full potential. And now it's the time for not just being able to talk about it, but being able to show it. And all I can say is I just can't wait. And
that's interesting because more than ever, seeing a sports psychologist is becoming more and more common. It's not like taboo as it was. Even just seeing therapy, in general for regular people, it was taboo for too long. But how long have you been seeing a sports psychologist? Was it after the Crute fight? What made you say, yes, okay, this I need to do? And, without giving away too much of your sessions, was there certain things that this psychologist said to you, go like, wow, I didn't think about it at all like that, and it really unlocked something that was closed before?
Yeah, sometimes you just need to do more things. Like now I've just become more focused. Like when someone's plugging it in at you the whole time, sometimes you can't just do it subconsciously yourself. Like you need someone to sort of, not only has my dad been an absolutely amazing help, and he's been plugging it in even more, but everything just has been so much more geared towards the fight. The way I'm thinking about it, the way I'm approaching everything. He even said like he noticed everything. Like every week when he would speak to me, he would notice changes in my demeanor and in the way that I'm approaching things and the way I'm answering questions to him. So it's like those sort of things. It's like when Mike Tyson was getting hypnotized, and the mind is a powerful thing. You can have all the greatest skill set in the world, but George St. Pierre, actually, I think he said it quite recently in the interview, you can have all the skills in the world, but if you don't put it out on the day, it means nothing at the end of the day. Like you could have a much lower skill set and still win a fight and completely dominate. So it really depends on how you are on the day, how you're, and I've felt so much. It's just a complete switch of mindset and just more focus. Like the focus now has been just more on the fight. There's no other outside distractions or anything like that. All I've been thinking about is one goal and one goal only. And I remember these same feelings and same thoughts and same processes that I had before the Hamlet fight. I'm feeling the same things now. So it's bringing on a great energy that I feel is going to accumulate to a big victory on the 27th. So it's good.
Now, last question. I enjoy your Instagram page because it often does seem like you're living your best life. There are these posts, the amazing car, spa dates with the beautiful girlfriend. It seems like life somewhere between James Bond and George St. Pierre that you just mentioned. It seemed like something like that. So tell me, is it very good to be Modestas Bukauskas, and my jealousy and hate is very warranted? Do we only see a fraction of the fun, or are you a big faker like the rest of us?
Listen, I'll probably have to admit and say I'm a massive faker. I mean, I think the glitz and glamour is all for the gram. You know how it is. You know how us fighters are. You want to put up a nice picture, wear nice clothes, a nice car, and this and that, and you have some sort of like low-key motivational quote underneath it. Or you know how it goes with us fighters, right? But people see that on Instagram, and again, it's just to show it's to show, I guess that you could say maybe a different side of me. It's to show more than just because people know me as a fighter. You know, people that they talk to me that are close to me, they know me as that. So that, you want to show something else outside of that. But outside from the glitz and the glamour, outside from the photos of the nice car, the beautiful girlfriend, the this and that, there's a hell of a lot of hard work. I would even rather enjoy thinking that my opponent is thinking that I'm just chilling or whatever, or not really grinding that much. Because it would just be a complete underestimation. Like, I put in even more work. There was like a point where it got to training, and like it was about maybe 7 weeks out, and I thought, oh my gosh, like maybe I need to take this session off or whatever. And then I actually pushed through and did that session. And then it was almost like I just broke through, not only mentally, but physically as well. It's like then there's sessions I was able to recover better just by pushing myself through those sessions. So there is a hell of a lot of hard work that goes on behind doors. It's not all a lifestyle that most people would like. My girlfriend gets annoyed with me sometimes, when you're coming home tired, you can't. And sometimes I guess just being honest here, I feel bad sometimes for people around me that I can't eat the nice food, I can't go to all these different things or whatever. But at the same time, I'm looking at the bigger picture. I'm looking at the bigger goal. I'm looking to help my family. I can't help my family if I don't go out and win fights and perform at my best. I've got to give myself every chance of succeeding as possible. Some people are dealt certain hands. You've got to deal with your hand that is given to you. Like, some people may have insane athleticism and they just have something and they just win all their fights. But everyone's journey is different. Like, I've had to take my lessons. I have to do things a certain way. If it means that I have to be more dedicated to bring out the best of myself, then that is the price that has to be paid. If someone can be less dedicated and still go out and smash it, fair play to them. But that's them and this is me. So I embrace that fully. I embrace it fully. I'm and I think every aspect of life, I'm learning to be even more grateful and thankful for it. I've been given an amazing opportunity, getting signed with the UFC. I'm living, for me, this is like my lavish life. You know what I mean? It's funny because I saw on a post that I literally just done today. Someone said, "Oh, I see you got the Merc," because I've been talking about it for ages. Like, I wanted the Merc and this and that, and to see things happen. Like I said, I was going to win the Cage Warriors belt. So, like all these things that I'm seeing in my head, it's all going to happen. I see myself one day winning the UFC belt. I know it's like I'm going towards my goal. I'm thinking about it. I'm dreaming about it, and everything in life, I'm just appreciating. I can't ask for anything better. I've got an amazing family. I've got amazing friends. I've got amazing training partners. So yes, in one side you can say it's an absolutely amazing life because I absolutely love it. But I know it would not be for some, like all the hard training and the graft would definitely, having to really kill yourself. You feel like crying sometimes and the mental, those things are the stuff that are like kept behind closed doors. But of course, when you start winning, you start doing the thing, then everything comes with it. So that's when life becomes even better. But I've truly learned more and more every single day, and as life goes on, to be grateful and appreciative of everything that I have, and that's why I live a happy life.